Welcome to 10K Tuesday. All right, welcome to 10K Tuesday. Today we're trying to run a little closer to 10 miles as opposed to 10 kilometers because we're preparing for a marathon. A marathon, first marathon 2025 coming up in 2 months, pretty much to the day. It's called a Shamrock here at Virginia Beach. If you've never been here before, by the way, I had this weird requirement that I've got to run at least 10 kilometers every Tuesday before I can even speak to you. So that's kind of a nice little fitness goal that's been working for me. And I've got this weird goal that I'd like to make $10,000 in a day. 10K. What do you say? All right, let me wrap this up. I'll see you in just a second. All right, how's it going out there? So what are we doing today? Well, I've gone and left the house. I'm here at the public library, and I've got one of these little office spaces here. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to practice teaching from one of my all-time favorite books. It's called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And it's one of those books that it's like the only book that I own that I've not highlighted in, because everything in that book is it's perfect. It's like that thin anyway, and everything is just perfect. I would be highlighting 99% of the book if I did that. But anyway, I've gone and left the book, but the whole purpose is I wanted to practice teaching the book, and so now I'm forced to. I don't have it as a crutch to go back on. So we're going to see how well I can do. So. 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. It's and it's not about he wanted to call it something else, but they made him title the book 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, basically to sell more books. I think he originally wanted to call it like the 7 Spiritual Laws of Life or Nature or something like that. But at any rate, I just love this book. So let's go ahead and get into the first law. All right, so the law of pure potentiality. So what that means is that pure consciousness is essentially the way in which we operate in this world, right? So this pure potentiality, I think of it as like a clean a palette or a slate, and that whatever we intend or desire, we can plant the seeds here and nurture them and grow. It's the field in which we all share this energy. I know I'm getting a little woo, but this is from the book, and this is me doing my best to teach from that book. I believe we don't know what we're talking about unless we can teach it. So once we realize who in the world we are and our place in this realm of pure potentiality, it's where the unmanifest becomes manifest. Like, you want to create the type of house you want to live in, it's right here. We can do it. We just need to divert some intention and desire to that, but it's right here for us to do it. But we can also sow seeds of chaos as well. We got to take control of our thoughts in order to do this. So how do you make friends with the realm of potentiality? Well, it involves meditation. You got to be still quite a bit, and that's how you plant your seeds of intent and desire anyhow, is by being still and figuring out just what it is that you want, but figuring out who we are. We need to make friends with the fact that we are spiritual beings and we are just temporarily in these physical bodies, and we're here to figure out who we are and what we're supposed to be doing. The field of potentiality, well, that's our baseball field. That's our hockey rink. It's our football field. It's where we need to figure out how to make things happen. 2 things that we can do to help us operate better in this field of potentiality are, we need to meditate. We need to be still and know that He is God. Not my line, but that's probably my favorite Bible verse if I had to pick one. And we need to spend more time in nature. That will also help us feel out who in the world we are and what we're supposed to be doing in this area. And right now I moved from the mountains to the beach, and so the beach is what I've got. If I was back in the New River Valley in Christiansburg, I'd be spending all sorts of times at creeks and mountains and trails and stuff like that. If you're in the desert, go hang out in the desert. If you're in Manhattan, go to Central Park. We need to spend more time in nature. But there's also a third component here, and I almost forgot it, and it's a toughie. Oh boy, it's a toughie. Non-judgment. Woo, man, that's hard, I tell you. But hey, that's what you're supposed to do. So one of the things that the book asks us to do is to go out into the world and say to yourself, today I will practice non-judgment. I will have no opinions about this goofball over here doing this goofy thing. It's a toughie, and you know what? I've got another toughie or two coming up, but that is one where we kind of have to swallow our pride and sort of do a little ego battle and realize, you know what? I'm not better than anybody. Nobody's better than me, and I just need to figure out my place in all this and how I can do good in this world. All right, let's move along to law number 2. All right, the law of giving and receiving is number 2 here. What's that all about? Well, it's energy exchange. Giving and receiving is energy exchange. And if you stop either, which you think we have more of a problem stopping giving, I feel like that most of us are good people out there. And some of us, you might know of them, are shitty receivers. You know, like if you tell them, hey, you know, man, you're really an eloquent speaker and the things that you say have really helped me and changed some things. And they turn around to you and say, you know what, I really like your shoes. You might know somebody like that in your life. Like they can't even receive physical gifts worth of shit. It works both ways. You need to be a good receiver as well as a giver. So it might be something we need to work on. I know I've had some issues in that area. Because of giving and receiving, we do need to give the things that we want the most. You know, whether it's money, you can't be cheap. You want good friends, you got to be a good friend. You want love, you got to give love. Because the things that we give, it comes back to you. Some say it comes back to you, you know, tenfold. Whatever the case may be, we just kind of want to be good for goodness sake. But for example, especially, let's say with money, and you're just a saver and a hoarder. Well, that's just not what money is meant to do. You might have heard the word cash flow. Well, you also might have heard of the word currency. Well, what does currents do? You know, it flows. So that's giving and receiving. One thing about giving and receiving is we do want to be giving as much as possible. And it's not like I want to always have something in my pocket ready to hand out to every new person that I meet. But the book says that we should want to extend a blessing for every new person that we meet. Every person that we come into contact with, you know, just wish them well. You know, I hate going to people's houses empty-handed. But, you know, if you do go, you know, just wish them well. You know, like hope their kid gets into that school. Well, you know how to do good, but that's the point of that. Now, here's something that is really tough that just comes right off the back end of non-judgment. And that is if somebody's an asshole to you and somebody has been trying to hurt you, we're supposed to wish them well. Try that. I suck at that. The best I have been able to do so far is be indifferent to somebody that's trying to hurt me or wishes shitty things for me. But I'm trying, I'm conscious of it. In fact, my wife was telling me, you know, what you should do is try to spend 5 minutes thinking good things or blessings about this person who has been an absolute shitbird to me, you know, here recently. And I'm like, I can't do it. I feel like that I've been an incredible adult just by being indifferent to them. But it's not good enough. I know it's not good enough, and making this video is helping me realize that. And so that's what the book says. I don't think the book actually addresses somebody being a shitbird to you, but I'm not too far out of the ballpark. I know that it's right. And so if I can graduate from being indifferent to, you know, maybe I'll spend 1 minute wishing them well. How about that? 1 minute. 5 minutes, that's a tall order, baby. All right, let's move on to law number 3. All right, law number 3 is the law of karma, or known as cause and effect. Okay, so what's karma all about? Well, karma, it's the classic, you reap what you sow. That is karma. If you want happiness in your life, sow seeds of happiness. And what it comes down to is you crafting yourself as like a professional decision maker. All right, so the way to transcend karma, you know, you're going to get whatever you've done coming back to you, but the way you can kind of work yourself out of that is to meditate. We keep coming back to that. But what meditation does, it makes you present conscious. So we're stepping outside yourself and imagine directing you to make decisions, right? And so what's the basis of these decisions? Well, does it do harm or does it do good? Does it do good now, up front, short-term and long-term harm? Does it hose anybody over? Or is it good for everybody? Well, I think you automatically know, well, if it's good for everybody, that's one of those win-win situations that we've all been hearing about. But it's not so cut and dry, it's not so easy. And so we need to really take a moment and think about it rather than just dive into decisions. We need to think about the long term. And so, or does it come from a place of love? These are boxes that you can check, and your heart instantly knows. Your heart can kind of sort through all of that infinite organizing power that is back in the realm of pure potentiality. I actually forgot to mention that, but that's where your heart can kind of cut through all that and instantly know that it's the right decision. Because I've had that happen to me. I've been like, man, I know this is going to be a pain in the ass, but I know it's the right thing to do. I just remember like trying to explain it to Laurie, like, man, God's telling me that I need to do this. And I don't even know, I remember what it was. But nevertheless, just give yourself a heart check every now and again and make really good decisions that will suit everybody, that won't hose anybody over. And if the decision comes from love, I hate to sound, like a hippie, but that's what the book says. And, more than one source talks about that. There's another book called Return to Love that talks about the same thing. So there you go, the law of karma. And let's move on to the fourth law. This is one of my favorites. I've actually made a video about it before, the law of least effort. And so the law of least effort, in essence, is accomplish more by doing less. You gotta love that. And so that means nature essentially is in a state of least effort. A fish does not try to swim, birds do not try to fly. In fact, some birds can swim and some fish can kind of fly, but it's just not in their nature and it doesn't last very long, you see. Blades of grass don't try to grow. I think you know where I'm going with this, but the law of least effort, you want to go with the universe, not against it. For example, if you're in a shitty situation and you're just fighting it, well, that you're just going against the universe, because it's the state that you're in. It is when we struggle against people, places, circumstances, events, well, we're struggling against the universe. And we basically need to accept what it is. I'm not saying throw in the towel and give up like a pussy, but we need to recognize this is happening, and we need to find the seeds of opportunity in this shitstorm of adversity. Defenselessness, that is a huge part of the law of least effort. I was just remembering that. And that's a toughie. That's where you tell your ego to have a nice warm cup of shut the hell up. So hard. It's up there with blessing your enemies. I know. So defenselessness, a tremendous amount of energy is wasted when you try to defend yourself and you want to make the other person see your point of view and ideally, like almost overpower them and coerce them. We're not supposed to do that. And that's really, and we have to fight hundreds, if not thousands of years of genetic memory, otherwise known as instinct, to defend ourselves. Why? Well, way back when, somewhere between like serfdom and industrialization, all of us were essentially in business for ourselves, and is probably typically farming or something. But if somebody said something about the Turners lie or cheat or steal, that's where duels come from. That's where actual accusing people of witches has come from, where we have to defend our good names. And if that rumor continues to circulate and we don't do anything about that, people won't do business with us, and then the welfare of our family is truly at stake. We can't just go get another job. Imagine 200 or 300 years ago, you're in this freaking village and everybody knows you, And your good name really, really, really means something. And so now today, this is the easiest time in human history to practice defenselessness. So, in other words, let that shit roll off your back. It's all right. Hard to do, but I've done it. I've swallowed my pride. Particularly guys, if you're arguing with your wives, they can sneak in some low blows, man. And to swallow your pride and not defend it and be like, you know what? Okay, I'm an asshole. You say that. I don't feel like I'm an asshole, but I don't know. But anyway, defenselessness. That's a huge part of this thing, and it's helped me. Hope it helps you. I know it'll help you. So, shitty people, shitty places, shitty events, shitty circumstances. Well, what should we do about that? Well, we're trying to find the seeds of opportunity in all this bad stuff, right? Well, that's where we need responsibility. I think we should think of responsibility like that. And it's not like we're taking blame for it and saying, oh, this is all my fault. Well, we can't do that because, for example, I'm Generation X and, we got, say, Generation Y and Z out there. And, so many of the problems that are going on in our world, whether it's, pollution and climate change and so on and so forth, we didn't cause that shit. That came from generations back. So we can just be blaming them or we didn't ask to be here, but here we are. And so we got to put our thinking caps on and solve that. So responsibility, it's not responsibility, nobody's raising their hand and say, I did this shit. But it's up to us. We got to figure it out, no doubt. So law of least effort. So that's where we need to know ourselves. That's where we need to know, what are we really good at and how can we help the most? Because to an engineer who loves math, like if he was in a third world country working for Greenpeace, that's the guy to help design the bridge to get you across from this village to this village. It's nothing to him. Now to me, I'd have a real tough time with that. But the guy that he loves that shit, he lives for that shit. He has Lego bridges, up in his attic where he just builds that shit for fun. That's your guy. That's the person for the job. So, law of least effort. It's extremely hard for me, but for Earl over here, who's making bridges up in his attic with Legos, that's his jam. That is no trouble at all for Earl. So. I love the law of least effort. It's one of my favorite things. And it's not because I'm lazy. It's because I want the things that matter the most to me to be the things that I love doing anyway. And therefore, they're going to have the most impact. Like I love making these videos because I know that they're going to help somebody out there. And it takes a little bit of bravery to stand up here and make these videos, but to a lot of people, somebody said somewhere along the lines that they would rather die than speak in public. I couldn't imagine that. That's pretty crazy, but people are petrified to speak like this. So I just want to recognize that and law of least effort. So what's easy to some is hard to others, and vice versa. And let's apply what's easy to us and make the world a better place. That's what I say. Oh, the law of desire and intent. Well, that one right there, that's where your movies like The Secret come into play, right? This is where we're manifesting stuff, right? This is the fun place. So, attention gives something energy, but intention is what transforms it, right? So that's where intention and desire come into play. That's where you figure out what you really want and how to make it happen. And we're back to meditation and back to that first law of potentiality, how we plant these seeds, nurture them, and make them grow. So with intent and desire, that's our playground. That's where we really got to figure out, what do we want and why do we want it? And will it help people? So you might kind of notice how the way these laws, like, I don't think, Deepak Chopra, I think he put a lot of thought into laying out these laws and how they sort of roll into one each other. You know, so like the law of desire and intent, you come back to the law before that, the law of least effort. Well, we take the thing that we're already good at, and what do we want to do with it? What is our desire and intent? And then on top of that, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself. Then we move into the law of detachment, because we love what we're doing so much. The law of detachment means that we have abandoned our attachment to the fruit of that. Let me not get too far ahead of myself here. Let's hang out with desire and intent. So intention is the real power behind desire. Because of that, you have totally relinquished your attachment to the outcome. You love what you're doing so much that you just don't care if it bears fruit. At the same time, you've got the faith that it will, and you're also simultaneously, you're not giving up goals and targets. But once you know that you're doing something correctly, you just sort of keep doing it for the love of it, and you've got the intention and desire behind it. You know, this whole physical fitness thing that we're into, this running thing. You know, I know that one good day of running every week, that's the right thing to do for me. And whether it's, you know, rain or shine, whether I'm sick or well, I still do it because I know it's the right thing. And I've just relinquished my attachment to it. Like last week I did it. I felt horrible. It did not make me feel better. I just know over the long haul, it's the right thing to do. And the details will work themselves out. I'm not attached to the fruit. And that's one thing that Gandhi was all about. He was about two things. He was about fasting, and he was about relinquishing your attachment to the fruit. God has given us the right to work. That's it, period. He has not given us the right to a reward. We all really want a reward, no doubt, but we need to find our love within the work, and I think that puts us in the desire and intent territory. So how do we make the magic happen right here? Well, we need to make a list of our desires and intentions, and we need to release that list into the world. So, you know, you need to write it down. You need to write it down. You need to write it down. And then you need to speak it. You need to check it out, you know, a few times a day and speak it out loud. You've heard of spelling? Well, I didn't make this up, but spelling is magic. And it's something that we all take for granted today because everybody can do it today. Hundreds of years ago, it was like forbidden. You know, like, you know, even just like say 150, 200 years ago, just in America, slaves were forbidden to learn how to read and write because there's a power in it. You know, way back, there's only one book, the Bible, and only certain people could read it because there's magic in it. We've got all this magic right here, and nobody wants it anymore. They think because it's readily available, it's not valuable. You know, there's a supply and demand. There's not much of it, so it must be valuable. Or there's so much of it, it can't be valuable. Well, this is where we're missing the boat. So spelling, make your list, say it out loud, write it, look at it. You can even program your subconscious with it. There's all kinds of apps where you can speak what you want to and then like play it at night as you're going to sleep. That's powerful right there because you're programming your subconscious, and your subconscious really runs the show. We're kind of going down a rabbit hole, but we're in the ballpark for sure. All right, here we are with the law of detachment. So that is Gandhi's jam. And what's that all about? Well, relinquishing your attachment to the fruit of whatever you're doing. It does not mean that you abandon your goals and targets. It means that we have an idea of going from A to B. However, there's quite a few things in here between A and B that really might turn us on our head in a good way. It means, in fact, this is worth writing. All right, embracing uncertainty. Yes, sir. Now that right there, that person you know from high school that still has their same job, she's not familiar with embracing uncertainty. And I'm not judging, I'm just reporting. I actually know somebody who has the same job they've had since they were in high school, and they're in their 40s now. And that's just the deal. We need uncertainty just as much as we need certainty. And certainty is that warm, cozy thing that lets us know that we're doing just fine, and our brain has acclimated to that, and that's where the thermostat is, right? And the brain doesn't like it when we do shit that we've never done before. So, however, when you operate in the realm of certainty all the freaking time, I think that's where depression can come from. It's the same shit, different day. Well, I feel like if we have the same systems but a different day, it sets us up to make friends with uncertainty. Uncertainty is where you intended to, for example, I think sticky notes were intended to be a totally different product, but because somebody was willing to take a look at uncertainty and say, hey, wait a minute, this gum here, this glue that we were trying to invent, hey, it sticks, but it doesn't stick. You know, what can we do with that? It's something that's never been done before. Well, I don't know. I'm not certain. I'm certain that I can't glue it to the wall and it'll stay there forever. But hey, we can kind of pull it off and put it back on, pull it off, put it back on. I don't know, man. That's $1 billion product right there that came from mistakes and uncertainty. You see what I'm saying? One thing about the law of detachment, that is where your preparedness will make you ready for opportunity. That's what everybody's talking about luck is, right? That's what everybody's talking about luck being is your preparation meeting opportunity, other people call luck. Well, that comes from what? Well, if we back up and we're operating from intent and desire and we're working from that area, if you're doing something that you really, really love and you are not attached to the outcome, your opportunity is going to find you. So many people have been the right guy or girl at the right time, and they had no idea what they were working for. They just loved what they were doing. A classic example is Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he got out of bodybuilding, he said, you know what, I'm going to get into the movies, and everybody laughed him out of the room because he spoke this weird English, and you know he could only be just one type of character, a buff ass kicker dude. Well, you know, the breakout role was Conan, the barbarian, who came from a foreign land, who had a weird accent, and who had to be a buff ass kicker dude. You know, another example of right person in the right place at the right time is Chef Jamie Oliver. I don't know if you know this about him, but I just love that dude. And he showed up to work one day, and a TV crew was there who intended to spotlight this other chef. Well, the other chef called out sick. He had a hangover. And well, who was there? Jamie Oliver was there. And bam, the rest is history. They didn't even come looking for him. They came looking for somebody else. And that dude rose to the occasion. And now he's a household name. He loved to cook. He had an awesome personality. And he was comfortable in front of the camera, and that's just a God-given gift. And that's, I don't know, I don't know enough as to how he cultivated it prior to that point, but right guy, right place, right time. But there's so many people like that because they were just doing what they loved doing, and they weren't particularly attached to the outcome, and they were willing to operate in this realm of uncertainty. You know, there was no guarantee that he was going to make it in the movies. There's no guarantee he was going to become the governor of California, you know. But the dude was willing to do some stuff in the realm of uncertainty. See people at the end of life talking about their regrets. What are they talking about? They're talking about the risk that they never took because they were not willing to operate in this realm of uncertainty. And we're going to fail a lot. You got to try a lot of stuff. Believe me, I've failed a lot. And the girl that's still working at the dry cleaning store, age 45, when she got the job at 15, she hasn't tried a lot of stuff. Again, not judging, just reporting. I mean, it's obvious. So this is a really cool area to play. And I think that this is an area where God hides your Easter eggs. I know that sounds weird. We're getting ready to get into the seventh law, the law of Dharma. So you know what? Let me go ahead and do that before I get ahead of myself. All right, the law of Dharma, where your Easter eggs are hidden. This is where we need to figure out just who in the world we are. What are we doing here, and what is our purpose? Yes, sir, everyone has a purpose. And it's up to us to figure it out. You know, we didn't come with an instruction manual. When I'm talking about where God is hiding our Easter eggs, back from the law of detachment with uncertainty, that's it. That's where we find our gifts, exploring areas that we're not very familiar with. Kind of got to listen to our gut a little bit. I feel like it needs to be somewhat congruent or, with the vision of ourselves. For example, let's talk about 50 Cent. I'm kind of fascinated with him. We're the same age, and he's obviously doing pretty well for himself. But it is congruent that 50 Cent could be an actor. He could be a producer, and because he's already an entertainer, he was already a rapper, right? So it's not that uncommon for a musician to become an actor and actors to do music, right? Because they're performers. It would also be kind of congruent for 50 Cent to try out jiu-jitsu. Why? Because he's already a boxer, you see? So he might find out like, holy shit, I'm a far better actor. I make lots more money acting and producing than I ever did rapping, because he was willing to try it back into, the certainty, and then of course trying to figure out his life's purpose. Maybe he does. I don't know those numbers, but he might be having one of those moments like, holy shit, I'm doing a lot better in this acting and producing gig than I ever did rapping. I don't know. He's done well in both. But the whole point is he's willing to try it, and he's trying to figure out who he is. Well, just as we are, right? So I think we should sort of take that lesson and apply it to ourselves. Of course, we could do some stuff that's just totally not in relation to what we've done before. I mean, like, you might be a plumber and find that you are an excellent Irish clog dancer. You just never know. But again, it's all about figuring out what our purpose is. But the big picture, figuring out our purpose is, how can we be of service to people using our God-given talents? Because we've all been blessed with unique gifts that not everybody else has. How can we use those gifts to serve humanity? And when we unlock that is where ecstasy and exaltation rain down upon us. That's something from the book. That's not me. But I'm not far off from it, because just look at an entertainer who's like a guitarist who's like killing his solo, and he's like practically crying, because what he's doing is so pleasurable to him, and people have paid good money to see him, and they feel better watching him do that, and he's inspired them to go out and do whatever. That's from a surface level entertainment, but like, what if you really used your talents to bring clean water to an entire state or province or country, something like that. So when we blend our unique talents with service to others, that is the goal of all goals, our Dharma. And well, how do we do that? Well, we gotta be quiet, sit in it, figure it out, work it out, play with it. A shift in consciousness occurs when we align ourselves with the highest vision of ourselves that we can conjure up. So aim high. We're never done with this thing. We need a vision of ourselves in order to succeed in this thing. All right, there you have it. The 7 spiritual laws. Yeah, so it is not by accident that they are in this order. I can't encourage you enough to get the book. I think I saw it for like $3 on the internet, right? That's just chicken shit money. Get the book, it'll change your life. So the law of Dharma, again, that sums up the goal of all goals. Who are we? What are we doing here? And how can we be of service to people using our unique talents that nobody else has but us? These gifts that God's given us, and we got to figure out what those are by playing around in the uncertainty area of the law of detachment. And, well, how do we play in that? Well, the law of desire and intent, where we figure out what it is that we want to do, what we love to do, what we would do if money were no object and we could just do it all day. And that's what gives us pleasure. And there's a pleasure in doing what makes us happy, making other people happy. Law of least effort. Hey, it ain't hard. I love to do it already. Law of karma. I know it's a good decision. I know nobody's going to get hurt from this. In fact, it's only going to help. It's only going to help you and you and you, and it's going to help me because I'm going to get a kick out of it. The law of giving and receiving. Hey, I'm giving what I want. The law of potentiality. Well, I'm playing in this realm where all your dreams come true. And we're planting seeds right there, nurturing them, and they'll grow, and ideally, just do good for everybody. Hey, I've done the best I can. I forgot my book. And you know what? If Deepak Chopra were to see this video, I hope he would approve. I've studied hard on the book. I love it. I'm so grateful that he wrote it. It has made a profound impact on my life. And I believe that we don't know what we're talking about unless we can teach it. I hope me selfishly learning it by teaching it has been of service to you. And if you like the content that I'm putting out there, by all means, why don't you hit that like button? Consider subscribing. I put out a video every Tuesday for sure, and sometimes more. All right, take care. Do not waste this day. Thanks for watching.